Hey everybody, I wanted to make this video addressing gun control again because it's such an important issue, and I actually wrote out a response in this instance because I felt it was important enough to do so. And this is in response to a comment that was left on my previous video which addressed gun control. Okay, so this is going to be a more in-depth, thorough analysis of gun control, and I'm going to bring up some of the finer points. So I'm just going to get right into it. Reading his comment. I disagree with you for sure. In fact, I'm really getting some Alex Jones vibe from this. First of all, what do you mean alleged? Really? Facts are facts. People got shot. Your car analogy is invalid. Of course, you can do a lot of damage with many things, including cars, but they have a clear primary function. Big difference. The only primary function of guns is to do harm. That's it. There is an agenda to disarm people. Well, yeah, maybe because shootings ain't cool. There's a clear correlation between availability of guns and firearm deaths. Not everything is some crazy conspiracy. I would argue that it is, but I digress. And what is the purpose of assault rifles? Please explain to me. What are you going to do when the cops come to your house to confiscate your AR? Try to shoot all of them? How is that going to solve anything? How does owning an AR help protect you from the government? You're not going to achieve anything. If a troubled person goes on a rampage in a crowded area with a knife, he can perhaps wound one person fatally before he's stopped. Give him a handgun and he can kill a few before he's put down. Give him an AR. Now he's a nigh unstoppable murderer. No, he's not. Not in the United States. Not in Florida. Conservative ass, Florida. No way. Now, obviously, there's a reason why he goes on a rampage that's got nothing to do with the guns themselves, but having access to them certainly didn't fucking help. And don't give me this shit about self-defense. How the fuck are you going to protect yourself if the other person has a gun too? He's gonna shoot you in the fucking face all the same. Or is it about who shoots first, who's faster? What kind of way to live is that? Having an open carry to intimidate others not to fuck with you will never work in the long run. It's the exact same thing as having access to nukes. I got nukes, you got nukes, let's not fuck with each other. Yeah, sure, until something goes wrong, first shot is fired, and all hell breaks loose. Brilliant, I'm sure it's going to end well. You can call me an idealist or whatever, but again, the only function of guns is to do harm. The very production of them is totally pointless to me. We need to focus on prevention and overall well-being of all humans. That's the only approach that will work long-term. Any weapons for self-defense is ultimately self-destructive insanity. Okay. I would argue that allowing the people who are actively trying to enslave you, exploit you, and poison you to disarm you is suicide, but okay. I'll get into my response right away. Alex Jones is a gatekeeper of truth, probably the foremost one of all. He brings forth a lot of truthful, relevant information, but completely omits one of the most important and obvious truths of all. Jewish supremacy and the extremist supremacist Jews' eternal war against the Gentiles. When I said alleged shooting, I meant it. Were you there? No. Do you personally know anyone who witnessed these events? That's highly unlikely. The only basis you have for this so-called shooting is regurgitation of stories from establishment media sources. That's the only basis anyone has for these alleged shootings. Nobody can prove a mass shooting occurred in Orlando. That's a fact. Where are the autopsy reports? Where's the footage of the corpse-laden and blood-drenched crime scene? Why do the eyewitnesses and family members of victims look and sound like they are reading off of a damn script? Probably because they are. How the hell could a single lone gunman shoot down 100 people, killing half of them, in the middle of a crowded place where there surely would have been several armed people around, given that it's Florida, and then took the time and had the scruples, amidst all of this mayhem, to call on his phone, to take out his little handy dandy cell phone and call the police and pledge allegiance to ISIS. Just you know, just for sentiment, just for sentimentalities, you know, whatever. I could go on about the logical inconsistencies in this story, but I want to get on to the core issue, which, of course, is gun control itself. So I'm going to start out by saying the more, which situation, okay, you have two scenarios, right? A town or a city, a community where people have guns, right? People, it's known that people have guns, people have the right to bear arms, and they bear arms, okay? And it's known. Everybody knows it. Okay, it's out in the open. Or another scenario where you have a town or city, wherever, where nobody has guns. There's very strict gun control laws. Where do you think a criminal is going to be more likely to act? To rob a bank? To go on a mass shooting? In the place where there's going to be less guns, isn't there? Right? The majority of people, as much as I don't trust most people, the majority of people don't have overt criminal intent. Like, nobody's out, like, the vast majority of people aren't out trying to, like, harm me, okay? That would be like, it's not rational. It's not a rational way to live, okay? He asked me, what kind of a way to live is that? Well, what kind of a way to live with this irrationality, this irrational thought that people are trying to get you because they have a gun, okay? It's not even rational. That would be like me driving in a car. Every car that passes me on the road, or every car that comes close to me, is trying to kill me, drive me off the road, whatever. Of course not. That wouldn't be rational. As dangerous as driving is, and as often as people take driving for granted, and as many thousands upon thousands of people die in car-related incidents every year, okay, that wouldn't be a rational way to live, would it? Okay, the same could be said for guns. All right? So, more guns, more accountability. Plain and simple. The original sole purpose of a gun is to kill people, unlike cars. And yet, cars and other motor vehicles kill far more people annually. The originally intended purpose of an item does not negate the realities of their true danger. Reality pervades. The true reality is that mass shootings, if in fact they're real, occur because mentally and morally ill people wield the weapons instead of ethical and responsible people. Enforcing legislation to ban guns will only ensure that the most passive and law-abiding individuals are disarmed first. In other words, the people who are the least threatening will be the first to have their weapons confiscated by the state, which of course is totally fucking trustworthy. If the government passes gun control legislation, it's only going to control guns so far as people believe in the law, whatever. People follow the laws, which are fucking arbitrary anyway. I can cross a state line, get high-capacity magazines, and then bring them across another state line, this is in the U.S., obviously, and be totally illegal, have them confiscated, and actually go to jail for it. Totally arbitrary, totally fucking meaningless. Totally ridiculous. Okay? Morality is not arbitrary. It's not. So, I don't understand how people don't see this. If the government passes gun control legislation, okay, you're not taking guns. The only people that you're taking guns away from are the non-criminals in that society, in that country, okay? Criminals, by definition, don't give a shit about the laws. Don't give a shit about morality in general, okay? As long as we live in a world where there's predatory fucking people and entities trying to exploit us, trying to harm us, doesn't it make sense that we have the necessary means to protect ourselves? Or at least some, reasonable means to protect ourselves? Seems pretty straightforward. If you honestly believe government legislation and restriction can resolve violence, you are deluded. Owning an assault rifle or any other gun does not guarantee safety. What it does guarantee is that we as a collective have the means to protect ourselves against criminals and terrorists, be they of the government or otherwise. Nobody with any sense could argue that the world would not be a better place if no guns existed. I am an idealist too, but I am also a realist, and the cold, hard reality is that guns exist and have existed for hundreds of years, along with the bad people who can and often do wield them. And that's really the point here, guys, okay? As long as there's bad people in the world, there should be good people. As long as there's bad people in the world with guns, there should be decent, good, or at least decent people in the world with guns, okay? People who have some semblance of a sanctity, of a reverence for life. Even though that's been beaten out of people for the most part, if it's ever existed, even, which I'm sure it has, but probably a long time ago. But anyway, until the human gene pool is purged of the filth that currently infests it, then it is the duty of every morally righteous, freedom-loving individual to have the necessary means to stand up and fight against criminality, depravity, oppression, and tyranny. Throwing away our armaments while the world is absolutely infested with predatory entities is suicide. That's suicide, okay? Plain and simple. If you cannot see this, you are truly lost. I would rather die fighting against those overtly trying to exploit and enslave me than live out the rest of my life on my knees, completely at their mercy. I'll leave it here. Let me know what you guys think on the subject. Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Rate the video, share it around, subscribe, all that good crap. And I hope you're all well. I hope this finds you well as always. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.